Boom! It's your boy the D-Train on the ones and the twos. If you detect something different in my voice, it's that I'm wearing sunglasses. And everyone talks a little different with sunnies on. And Henry, over there, Papali, he's got sunnies on too. It's an all sunny episode of The Franchise.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, everybody, welcome to The Franchise. It's episode 200, and hold on, my glasses make everything slightly darker. 267, I believe that is, and it's Hank the Tank over here down in South Jersey on the GSP, and up there in Brooklyn.
Honk, honk!
On the BK, everybody's in the BK, Brooklyn. That's Daniel the D-Train Ehrenberg. We're going to be doing the trip to Spain, a place probably neither of us will ever get to go to, and Greece, another place we'll never get to go to.
That's right, it's D-Train and the Weasel here in the morning on 100.3 Z100. All right,
Tank and the Daz.
Deedle Doo and the H-Bomb. Let's cover it up. All right.
107.5. Free beer Tuesday, hot wing Saturday.
Ving, 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 ving. It's Chainsaw and the Henry Hound. Let's go.
At 1:30, we'll be having who do we have, DJ? We have Jenna in the wet t-shirt contest. That's right, the wet t-shirt contest. How much water can you take?
And stay tuned for the new Thrice this afternoon at 1:30, world premiere. All right. I'm not sure what's happening. I told Henry that if we wore sunglasses, there would be a different vibe. And I think it's already proven true.
I think it's happening. There's no exaggeration going on there, folks, of radio DJs. For those of you overseas, we have lots of listeners overseas. Those are American DJs.
They do the same shit over there, man.
Parlez-vous français, les contes de Louis les gens de non, ce n'est pas moi, les Florence de Machine.
On your marks, get set, go! All right. Henry.
What country was that?
Oh, that was like maybe a sound clip that they would use after all that French.
Oh, they flipped to American.
Well, no, it's just a sound clip. You know, we use Parlez-vous Français sound clips in America.
These radio DJs here really.
Yeah.
H-Bomb and the Weasel, Parlez-vous Français.
Yeah, why not? A little froggy action.
Uh-oh.
All right.
400. All right. The trip.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're doing the trip to Spain and the trip to Greece. I mean, who could care? Listen.
Hey.
I know. H-Dog suggested the trip seems like a year ago. We weren't able to record last week.
I watched these movies 9 days ago.
Yeah, something like that for me too. Who knows? Who could say?
Who could say? Yeah.
Now, one of my roommates is blending. I hope that's being recorded.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Love that. Patreon.com/thefranchise. Hey, so I can move.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, we watched these movies like 2 weeks ago, right? The trip to Spain and the trip to Greece, the third and fourth trip movies. Now, longtime listeners of the franchise will remember the last episode of the show. We really liked the trip. I was sort of sold on them. And I was into the Cougs and Rob Brydon. All very fun stuff, doing impressions and shit.
Yeah.
All right. Listen.
Yeah.
Can we admit there's some diminishing returns in this franchise?
I understand. But I'm kind of an addict of these movies now. I needed more. I didn't mind.
Even Greece.
Oh, I actually I had never seen the trip to Greece, and I actually loved it. I liked it more than Spain.
That's crazy. Greece is the worst one.
No, I didn't think so.
Definitely.
I actually think Spain's the weakest one.
No. Greece.
I like
I would say the rankings are 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all just a little worse than the previous one.
I actually kind of think that the rankings are. I'm still vacillating. It's either 1, 2, 4, 3 or 1, 4, 1, 4, 2, 3.
Oh, I can't even make heads or tails of that at this point.
Neither can I.
We'll have to discuss it further in.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Trip to Greece. I thought it sewed up everything very nice.
How? When I read that they said this was the last one, like the Cougs has said this is def last one. That's a quote. Yeah. Def last one. And I don't get it.
Well, it shouldn't be the last one because I'd like to see these guys like in a Michael Apted thing. I want to follow these guys when they're like 70.
I thought about Michael Apted too, and I think that's the move. I think the
I
problem here is they made him in too quick succession.
Maybe.
20,
yeah. Right.
2010, it's a space of 10 years they made these movies, and they made fucking 4 of them. Like, that's not enough time. Like, you don't change that much over the course of, like, 2 years. Like, so it's like they haven't even learned new impressions. They're just still doing the same shit.
Well, yeah, I mean... I was sort of latching on to whenever they would do like somebody they hadn't done. Those are like weird. Those are the moments.
That's an exciting thing because otherwise we're just doing Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. We're redoing bits.
But I mean, I still think that it carried forward the narrative of their lives a little bit. Without
I thought that Spain did because Spain has between Italy and Spain. Cougs made that Philomena movie, which was extremely significant for his career. Like, he did write and star in that movie, and it did get nominated for multiple Oscars, including for writing. And so, like, that fundamentally changes his character and broadens him, and so you can use that. So, to me, the trip to Spain had a built-in purpose because of that other movie, which I've never seen, but added to my watch list. And Grease, I don't see any purpose for its existence.
I just think it's fun. It's just to be fun, and I know that I also think there's like obviously a literary bent to every trip, and I think it was also an excuse to just be like. And it's funny because, I mean, we'll get into the different plot points, but there's really not many to get into. But, like, there were moments in the trip to Greece that actually, how we talked about a couple of weeks ago or whenever the hell we recorded, of how it reminded us, who would be who and all this kind of stuff. It was hilarious to me that in the trip to Greece, there are so many moments in that movie where I was like, oh, my God, that is me. That is me being – that's – Steve Coogan and you being like every time they come across anything historical in Greece, Coogan feels the need to tell Rob Brydon every detail of the stone or the politicians or the poets who's there, and Rob Brydon is like, okay, yeah, that's great.
But
that's great.
Still, even all that, like,
I know you're gonna say, what's the point?
No. That's not what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that the moment in the first one where Coogan is yapping nonstop about that, stone or whatever, and then he goes up without Brydon, and the guy talks his ear off, and he realizes what a nuisance he is. That's done. We did it.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It was done with the two friends this time. I didn't care. Look, I'm sure that your points are not going to be things on this particular on these that I'm actually going to disagree with. I think this is just a matter of me just having an enormous affection.
I get it, and I think they're still funny, and I do still think it's valuable to have that kind of male friendship on screen, adult male friendship. Yeah. But I don't know. I thought about Before Sunrise a lot. I thought about Michael Apted's Up series a lot. And
I've never seen.
Which I've never seen either. We'll do it for the podcast eventually.
I've always wanted to cover
incredible franchise. Yeah.
Always wanted to do that.
We will. We definitely will. But I just think that that's the move, is to follow up on them years later. Like in the second one, last we left off, the trip to Italy, they were dealing a lot with Bryden's marriage, and he's now cheated on his wife, and I was expecting some follow-up on that in the third one, and we get it to some extent in that she is not around as much to take his calls. He's a little put off by that throughout the movie. And he's clearly unhappy there. He's like desperate to go on the trip, even though, like we've heard him say previously, he would never go away for that long again.
Right.
So that's something, but it's just like nothing's really changed by the time Spain happens. Like I find Rob Brydon's wife, I find all the female characters in these movies to be so fucking elusive. Like, they're all in all of the movies, and I never feel like I know anything about them.
Not written. Yeah, they're just not written. I mean, they're not even written. That's the thing.
But, like, I feel like I should even know them through the perspective of them. Like, that is one thing I talk about with my friends that these two fuckers never talk about.
I was just going to say that. One thing that guys definitely talk about is their girlfriends or their wives with each other. And that's not really done ever. I mean, in the first one, you get like sort of elusive comments from Coogan about Misha, but there's nothing really in depth there. It's kind of a quick.
Well, the first one has a point of view. The first one is the one of these movies that most knows what it is and is most attempting something specific artistically. Whereas now, I feel like we're just marking time or something.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it. I don't know. I still think they're just very well done. It's like they're so perfectly well done in every
Are they? Even that, like, I'm starting to see the tricks. Like when we get melancholy, I feel like it's like, oh, it's time for the melancholy part of the movie.
The Michael Nyman piano theme.
Yeah, you know. Or the windmills on my mind, the use of that song, which I loved in Spain.
Yeah.
Let's take them one at a time, though, a bit. The trip to Spain came out in 2017. It was released August 11th, 2017, over there in the UK. And, you know, it debuted on television as well. I think that helps these things get made, is the TV rights, because they don't really make a lot of money in theaters. They do like $2 million worldwide.
No.
It's an hour and 48 minutes. I'll say that. And they continue to be too long. All these movies, all four of them are 20 minutes too long. And then on this one, the Observer is putting out the call for both of them to go to Spain, and they're supposed to be following the journey of like Don Quixote, right? Or something like that.
And Sancho Panza, yeah.
Right. And so there's a lot of talk about that really comes to nothing. I don't know what they were going for at all. And then the other big thread of the movie is Coogan's alcoholism, which as an alcoholic obviously had a little more interest to me. And last we left him, he was drinking, right? So in Italy, he was not drinking for most of Italy. And then late in the movie, he has a glass of wine, and when Bryden asks him about it, he's like, fuck off, it's just a glass of wine.
Right.
Yeah. And so now when we pick up with him in this one, he's again not drinking.
Right.
So we get the sense that relapse continued at the end of Italy. This is the sense I got. I don't know if I'm writing my own movie.
I agree with you. And I think that's one of the things that I like about the movies is that a lot of these things, and you could make an argument that it's just lazy writing, but I like that a lot of these things are not spelled out for you, right? In another movie, you would get the full backstory about Bryden's marriage and what has happened in between. You would get the full backstory about Coogan's drinking and what's going on with that. I personally, as a viewer, I don't need that in these movies.
I don't need it either.
I understand. Like, I can probably put together that why he's not drinking.
I don't think it's lazy writing, Henry. I think that it's thoughtless. It's just not what they care about. Like, I don't think it's lazy. I just think to them, that's not what the movie is about. The movie is about the bond between them and the time they spend in this particular place, and we're checking in on these characters or whatever. But I just need a little more depth or something. Like, because a lot of the time we're supposed to be reading between the lines, and it's easy to do that in the first one when you don't know anything about the characters. But the more you learn about them over the course of the movies, there becomes this tantalizing distance between you and the characters. The more time you spend with them, the more I'm like, well, what the fuck is going on with this guy's marriage?
Because you kind of want to know.
Yeah.
At this point, you want to know because you like them.
Yeah, and I think you're supposed to deepen. It's like the old Cheers thing. In season 1 of Cheers, they never leave the bar. The whole thing's in the bar. And then you watch season 2, all of a sudden you see them in other locations. And then by season 3 and 4, we're meeting their families and stuff. You're supposed to deepen over time. And this franchise frustratingly does not.
Yeah. Didn't frustrate me, but that's funny that you said that about Cheers. I always remember not liking. I always found that show to be very, very much awkward and out of its comfort zone when they were not in the bar. It felt very, very alien to me when they were in other settings.
I'm with you at first. I think they have trouble with it in like season 2 when they first instituted that. But by the time like Frasier and Kirstie Alley are on it, that's all great.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
none of this stuff bothered me. I don't know. It's like I don't know. I just took them for what they were. I mean, I feel like the movie is sort of just. It is just the trip to Spain is just a movie of segments. That's all it is. It's just individual scenes. It has no real through line.
But then you would expect it to be the frothiest one of the 4, and it's anything but, because it ends with this crazy 20-minute segment of Steve Coogan going off the fucking deep end.
See, this is what I need to be reminded of.
Oh, yeah, okay. So
I told you before the show.
In Spain, like 90 minutes into the movie, Bryden pieces out. Like, he goes home with his wife or whatever, and Coogan sticks around and has a horrible relapse and ends up in like the desert with his car broken down, and these like Islamic nationalists come up on him in some sort of war vehicle and
that was
brandishing
so
guns, and that's how the movie ends. That
was so bizarre. Now wait, what? I can't believe I haven't had to do this in ever, especially on a movie I like so much. Walk me through.
You're lucky I remember that. I'm usually the one that doesn't remember shit.
I know. Why does Bryden take off? What goes on there?
Don't they get like some visits? Like the women visit, right? And they're at the end of it. They do the photo shoot thing where they dress up as Don Quixote and shit.
Right.
And then it's just like it's the end of the trip. Like Bryden doesn't peace out early. It's just that the movie sort of ends, and then there's 20 minutes left, and Coogan decides to stay in Spain and like go on. He's been reading that fucking book and like identifying with that with the character. Remember is this the one where they sit at that table with that dude and Coogan gets upset that he knows more about the subject than he does.
Yes, this is that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like Coogan's been like obsessing over this fucking diary, this journal the whole time, and he stays to try and like hit some of those landmarks.
So he ends up in. We find out in the trip to Greece that he ends up at the end of Spain in like Morocco. He like crossed over into Africa.
Yeah.
And so now the end of that movie in Trip to Spain, I got to be honest with you, there's a lot, and this goes back to the first movie, there's a lot of, I think, usually well done, quick dream sequences. When he is in the desert and his car breaks down, because I think that's what happens in Spain, I wasn't even convinced that the car approaching him was even a car full of jihadists. I thought that there's room for interpretation if he's just fucking imagining that because it's like his worst fear, because it's mentioned earlier in the movie. And I actually thought when they're approaching him, like, that's just him like projecting that that's what's coming towards him, when it's probably nothing of the sort.
Yeah, I actually had the exact same reaction to the ending, but regardless, you have to admit that it's a very strange way to end your frothy improvisational comedy film.
It's very, very strange, yeah.
It's basically a cliffhanger. Does fake Steve Coogan get murdered by Islamic jihadists? It's a wild ending.
I actually loved it for that, but you know, the thing is that would I have loved it if if that was the ending of if it was a trilogy? I mean, and they couldn't make Grease. You know,
I don't think they would have. Like, it's got to be by this point that they have a deal with the BBC to make them when they want to.
It is very strange, but I like that. It's fucking completely out there. I mean, it's fucking bizarre.
Is it not a tad on the culturally insensitive side that the first time we're seeing this is like a globe hopping film, and like the first time we're seeing Muslims is as jihadists?
Got that too, and the only thing I could think of was that maybe in this character, fake Coogan, that's so from his that's what he has in his head.
Of course, but we are also an audience watching a movie and accepting what is being presented to us with our eyes.
You know what it was, too, to me? It felt anachronistic. It was 2017.
Yeah. I had that thought, too. You know, and I think that might be an England-America thing.
Yes. I think so, too. That would have made a much more sense in like
2006 or something. Yeah.
Even as late as like 2006 or later than that. But 2017 and like that's what we're going with. It's very, very odd.
To me, in like a post 300 world, we're not still fucking doing this shit.
Yeah. It's true. It's very, very odd. I don't know. It was a strange ageist thing there maybe with him. I have no idea. Well, like you said, England and America. Now, what do you mean by that specifically? Just their views of what is a threat, what isn't, how close they are, what isn't?
I think that British people on the whole tend to be more terrified of Muslims and Asians than Americans are. Maybe just by proximity.
Yeah, no, they do have a big issue, I think, with that.
I watch plenty of British comedy, and I feel like there are way more Muslim stereotypes in British comedy than there is in American comedy. I mean, and American comedy is no fucking stranger to shitty stereotypes. I just feel like you see that a lot in England.
No, I mean, you know, we're allowed to. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. I think I think it is like a proximity thing. I think it's just part of their. I mean, it's not just the Brits, right? Like, I think the same thing is in France, and especially still got it in Germany.
Yeah, probably. But who cares about those countries?
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, so I don't know. It's an odd ending, but let's talk about a couple of the funny moments in Spain.
Oh.
There were a couple that I loved.
What were they?
Uh, when they're talking about the Moors, just picturing, I'm like, so they doing a Roger Moore impression. Coogan's had it. He's done. The two women are laughing, and then they're not laughing, and Bryden keeps going, and it's so fucking funny. That
would be what you would gravitate towards.
Because
that moment is probably the most Henry Bryden gets in the entire movie.
Yeah, because
he just agrees.
yeah. Because also I was thinking, like, who would be the friend in the Coogan position, and what would their reactions be? So if it was Dan, he would react like Coogan does in this movie, but then he would probably start to get like actual angry. And just to have had it and be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, he'd get actually angry. Aaron would probably go along with it and encourage it. Franchise guest Aaron Fernelli. Jason would probably roll his eyes.
Just going to go through all our friends.
Yeah, Jason Anthony Harris would probably roll his eyes and just start going, okay, all right. But still be laughing. And it's just that kind of thing.
That's not true. They'd all get annoyed, Henry. It's just I'm the only one that would speak up about it. And then I'd be the fucking martyr at the end of the night. Everyone would hate me. That's my whole life. Well, no, martyr was the wrong word. I'm What's that?
It sure was.
Yeah, whatever. The little shit. The little chump.
Your tolerance would bleed quicker. You'd be bled out quicker. And I'd know it, and I'd keep going.
You know what's odd about that is my tolerance for strangers, I feel, is higher than yours. I can deal with a nut. I like talking to crazies. Yeah. But like if my friend is being annoying and crazy, I'm like, you should have more self-awareness.
Yeah, but I thought that was a very funny scene, regardless. And honestly, as funny as it is, I was thinking about me and Bryden's position, and that's really far. I don't think I would go that.
You would.
No, not in that company. With you, I would. But with like two women present who are,
I disagree. But you wouldn't realize they're not enjoying it.
No, I'm fully aware of what people are enjoying. I just like doing it anyway.
You think that overdoing something is charming. And sometimes it is, but it's not always.
You're right. Or I get to a point where I just become narcissistic and I start to not care, which is a wonderful quality.
Well, but that only happens when you're not trying to fuck anybody. Like, if you have any interest in fucking somebody, that part of you doesn't come out.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I know you, bro.
Wow, some Daniel Ehrenberg truths being spat.
I should be like, I watched The Brood last night, the Cronenberg movie, and all right, well, part of it like revolves around this crazy psychologist who has like a commune. People go like visit him at his cabin, and then he's like, "Let me see my wife," and she's like, "No, she's in the middle of her therapy. She cannot see anybody." And I feel like I could be that guy.
The cult leader?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it.
What do you think? But like specifically a cult of psychology in a hippie commune in a cabin. I could run that.
You're crazy enough, so I mean, it would probably work.
Great. I'll get started. All right. Spain.
John Hurt impression, great scene with the dinosaur. Loved that. Remember that? Very funny.
Oh, yes. That was very funny.
That was very funny. Bryden starts doing a voice that's really bad, and Coogan's like, who's that supposed to be? And he's like, it's John Hurt.
Oh yeah, and then Coogan nails John Hurt. I felt like if that was truly improvised and like Bryden didn't realize that Coogan had that John Hurt impression in his arsenal, I feel like that is John Hurt like decapitating Rob Brydon at the heels.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that would be bisecting or vivisecting. Decapitation's head only.
Correct.
Head only, my favorite kind.
Yeah, you
see
should be that.
That's
later.
the kind of joke I would only make wearing sunglasses.
With no females present.
What? There's females listening.
Correct.
This isn't like a No Girls Allowed podcast.
Anything but, I hope not. Jesus Christ. There's enough testosterone
You
on
think
here
that?
as it is.
Do you think there are podcasts where it's like they wouldn't even want girls listening?
Of course.
Like incel podcasts, I guess.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan? He wants girls listening, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets many, but he wants them to.
I don't give a shit.
Oh, listen to Henry coming in hard against Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
trying to start a podcast feud with the biggest podcast name in the world.
I don't give a shit. I got my reasons.
Oh, he's got his reasons, gang. Is it because he, for months, talked shit about that Bruce Lee scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then when he had Quentin Tarantino on the podcast, said he thought it was awesome?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
Awesome. I love that shit.
His stupid beliefs and his dumb everything. People follow him like a cult leader. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it's funny. Cult leaders are always either really smart or really stupid.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it's interesting. You never see like a cult leader of middling intelligence. You know, Matt Dillon is not starting a cult.
No, I couldn't be a cult leader. I'm smart. I'm not dumb, but I'm not that smart, and I'm not that dumb.
But you say I could be a cult leader. Now, is that because you see me as very smart or very dumb?
I think your viciousness and ability to put people down and make them feel very little and then build them back up might be a perfect quality for you to start a cult.
Yeah, you're right. Like one or two different turns in life, and I could have been that NXIVM guy.
We're still at the fork in the road.
You think we're still there? I could still go that way. Man, who knows? We'll see. We'll see, gang.
I think Brachiosaurus is one of those things. I realized his John Hurt impression is pretty if I've worked on it, it's pretty close to my BFI.
Yeah. Well, your BFI guy really does sort of sound like the Elephant Man.
Yeah, it's just if I tone it down like 80 notches, I think I could have a John Hurt. So I'll be working on that.
Is this also the one, or is it Grease, where they're dealing with... it is this one, because they're talking about Philomena. The whole agent thing, where...
Yes, that's bizarre.
I liked that section of the movie a lot.
I did too. So Bryden gets a call...
Well, first Cougs calls his agent about this movie he's trying to get off the ground that he's writing and directing, which sounds like he's trying to establish himself as a Liam Neeson-style old man action star, which I loved. Missing, that was the name of his movie that he wrote. And then his agent is like having trouble getting it in the right hands and getting it made, and the studio wants a rewrite by like a hot new writer. And Coogan's saying, I'm hot, and I just wrote an Oscar-nominated movie. And then the agent calls Bryden, saying that he thinks he could get Bryden to be a big star in the States, and that he could be Ricky Gervais, and has he ever wanted to host the Golden Globes? Which is so funny, especially now that the Golden Globes are basically canceled and will never happen again. And so I think... You know what's really funny to me is that the Brits seem to think Ricky Gervais has the career that Americans think British people all want, but no British person actually wants.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Well, I think you're right, and it's still shining through all these years. 100 years of American entertainment. It still comes through that you haven't made it unless you've made it over here, and it's
but I think that is that's the contention.
He wants to be big. He's already big, and it's like almost like it doesn't count for him
unless he breaks through into the American audience.
Whereas we as we don't give a shit. The general public, we don't care. We like people wherever they are, no matter what country they're from. They don't have to. We don't need a foreign star.
That's very utopian way to look at things. I think that's true of maybe the last 2 or 3 years, but
I mean that's how I feel. So when I see somebody over there in one of the foreign movies or foreign shows I watch, and I think, oh man, they're fucking amazing. I don't wait or care if the next thing they do is Taken. I don't care. Or if they're in the next Marvel movie, it doesn't matter to me. I've discovered somebody.
But
cool.
That's a you thing. That's not most people. The reason Mads Mikkelsen is a name people know, and he was the villain in Doctor Strange or whatever, is not because of Thomas Vinterberg films. It's because of Hannibal. He got cast as Hannibal Lecter in a piece of intellectual property on NBC, and that's why people know him.
I mean, I knew him, I guess, from Casino Royale, so it's an American product, but...
Yeah, but only the biggest Bond nerds like yourself would even recognize, even notice him in Casino Royale.
Yeah, probably. But, I didn't, if I want to see somebody, I guess, my trajectory is to go watch some other movies they're in. Not to wish, I wish they would come over here and do something over here, and but I mean,
think about music. I kind of do. If I discover an obscure artist, a lot of people don't want the artist to sell out or whatever. I've not been that way since I was 15, and you shouldn't be either, you dumb fucking loser. And so when I get into a small band, I really root for them to take off. So when I hear a band, an obscure band in an episode of Grey's Anatomy, I'm like, oh, great for them, oh, awesome.
I do get a little twinkle sometimes when I watch something like that too.
And you know who the most incredible, weirdest trajectory of a performer is? The band Bush.
Why?
Because they're a British band that never had a hit in England, but were huge here.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
That happens. I mean, that happens where a band does much better in a certain place than they do.
But they didn't start here. They started in England.
No. But it's just the same phenomenon when you pick a band like Morphine, who gets stuck in Boston and keeps trying to tour the United States, but they're fucking huge in Europe when they were around.
Morphine was never huge in Europe the same way. They were not huge the same way Bush was huge here.
No, because they're a massive, and they're on music videos and all that kind of stuff. Yes, correct. But I just mean that a band can go somewhere else and be much, much bigger. Not bigger meaning media coverage and everyone knows their name, but successful monetarily.
Well, I thought we were talking about making it in America, like Cougs is trying to do, bro.
Okay, we were. We got a little, yeah.
You just wanted to bring up your pet band, Morphine, for the billionth time on this podcast.
I've brought them up once or twice. And,
so many times.
I have a free pass to bring up whoever the fuck I want because you bring up your pet things.
Oh, yeah? Like what? What have I ever brought up on this show that doesn't have anything to do with the topic at hand?
This is a perfect segue into something I watched related to these movies. So I watched, because I'm a big fan of these movies, I watched a GQ interview with Coogan and Bryden after a trip to Spain.
GQ?
I found it on YouTube. I just typed in Steve.
Did it come with a cologne sample?
I hit my volume button. It sprayed me in the face.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Did you have to sit through 2 watch advertisements before watch?
It was because nobody's watching the clip but me. So it's one of those YouTube clips where there's no ads.
Sure, great.
And it was great because it was like after a ceremony, like after the GQ Men of the Year or some shit. And they were talking about these movies and the evolution of them. And one of the interesting things that they mentioned was their behavior towards each other, and how in the first one they weren't really sure how to act with one another and what lines they should cross. And because we talked a lot about this, like the private, like, and they were saying how like they kind of made, and it reminded me of you and me on this show. They kind of made like a gentleman's agreement to not ever go too far to hurt each other's feelings, but at the same time, if it's inevitable that gentleman's agreement is going to be breached if you're pushing for some sort of joke or comedy or some truth. And so they were.
Do you feel that we have a gentleman's agreement?
I think so. I think to a certain degree.
What am I not allowed to talk about?
Except when you lose your mind, or
what
when
does that
I get
mean?
angry, or except when I get angry.
You never cross the line with. I don't have any lines.
Yeah, that's what makes the agreement difficult.
Yeah, that's what makes any relationship I have in my life difficult. I think.
I know. That's why I love you. No, but in regards to them, it was interesting because they were talking about like how they try not to do it, and then how they felt like when they were actually doing a scene where they were supposed to be confrontational, if they were like in a good mood, they didn't want to be. And if they were in a bad mood and they had to be friendly, they didn't want to be. And it made parts like that difficult. But they said the most contentious film was the first one. And that was also because they said they just didn't really know what they were doing.
I also read that Coogan was actually drinking on the first one. The only movie that he was still drinking for was the first one, even though like he drinks sometimes in Italy and Spain. He was sober by that point. Whereas in the first one, he was like actually getting drunk and like getting laid, like where they were, and so Bryden said it was a lot more difficult to work with him.
Well, Bryden says in this interview he actually looks at Coogan. Coogan looks a tad uncomfortable, but he says, "I think you've really mellowed out. You're a little easier to work with since you know." And he just kind of like Coogan was like, "Yeah, that's probably true."
Yeah. Well, listen, the sober guy will always accept that fucking criticism.
Yeah.
Oh, Henry, what do you give this third one?
It's an above average movie, and I love it a lot. So I'm giving it 4.
All right, it's a 3. Like, to me,
good. I'm glad at least you're giving it a 3. I don't know
no, it's so clear. Like, I think the first 3 movies, the ratings are obvious. Like, I've never felt so clear. It's 4.33, and then Grease, I had a little more of an issue with.
Well, I'm 5.44.
Yeah, so. I know, because it's established on the show, Henry, and in your Hank Beast Letterboxd account, that all of your ratings are 1 star higher than they need to be.
And all of yours are middling reviews that give films that clearly are achieving more than average status, just 3.
But when I give something a 5 and 4, it means something.
It means nothing.
That's not true. It means something.
That's what people like you, and that's not just you. It's not just you. It's not just you. You're not alone. It's a common thing on Letterboxd. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. You think it gives you more gravitas. You think it gives you more gravity.
It does.
It doesn't to me, because then like I see it and it's like, oh, all right, so he has deigned to give this a 5.
You wouldn't be saying this to me if you weren't wearing sunglasses. Sunglasses bring out a meanness in you.
I've deigned. I can't do
it. Listen, because I give fewer things 5s and 4s, It means more when I do.
Well, you can't even say it with a fucking straight face.
I did 5 minutes ago. Now I'm questioning myself.
That's right, because you're not the only one who does it. I go on there all the time. There's never any fives from anyone. Okay, fuck you. I'm giving fucking Killing Me Softly a fucking 5.
You know what you'll fucking do though? Yeah, like an asshole. I saw this last night. You watched a shitty horror movie. You gave it
what I did.
You gave it a 3, and then you went back 10 minutes later and gave it a 4. I was proud of you for that 3.
You didn't see the movie, and you want to know why I gave it a 3? I had to sleep on it. I didn't do it 10 minutes later. I slept on it. When I woke up the next day, I realized why I gave it. I knew why I gave it a 3. There's something that happens in the ending that is so repulsive to my personal tastes of gore that I was like, I don't care for. I was being kind of a little wuss.
Look at you, you fucking like, Puritan Papali over there.
Right, it makes no sense. And I was kind of like, I don't like this. This wasn't necessary. And then I was like, when I thought about it, I was like, that is a totally unfair thing to do about a movie you thought was absolutely perfectly well done and riveting. And just because you were taken, it offended your senses, you knocked it down to a 3. Not fair. Give it a 4.
The last time that happened to me was House That Jack Built.
Oh, really?
At one point in the, no, it's not. I always gave it a 4, which I probably still agree with. But in my head, like halfway through that movie, he cuts a duck's foot off with like a pair of scissors.
I don't remember that. Okay.
And it was so fucking repulsive to me that I like decided in my head for the next half hour that it was a bad movie.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. That's what happened to me with this, and I was like, "That's not fair." I try not to do that with movies where I just let just because it annoyed me or disgusted me doesn't mean it's not. Yeah, that movie was really cool. I watched that movie. I watch some movies I do watch because of our Letterboxd friends and what they write or what they review.
Is Hunter x Hunter a sequel to Runner Runner?
Oh, it's way better than Runner Runner, I'll tell you that.
With my boy JT.
That was, God. What'd I give that movie?
I don't know. I love those early JT. Was he even in Runner Runner? Am I making that up? I know Affleck's in it. Yeah.
I don't remember Affleck. It's probably Timber.
Timber, I remember that movie Alpha Dog. I think about that movie a lot. I think more people should be forced to watch that movie before they form an opinion on Justin Timberlake.
I saw In Time for some.
Yeah, that's a movie I've seen on television like a trillion times and been like, should I watch that?
It's okay. I think I recall being like, this is fine. I probably gave it a 3.
It's got one of those crazy high concepts.
Yeah.
I have no idea who made that movie, but I'm going to guess it's written by the guy that wrote Gattaca.
See, Andrew Niccol.
Yeah.
So that's like a 3 to me. That's a fucking 3. A movie like Hunter x Hunter.
I bet you if you watched...
wild and really assured of it. I like movies that are extremely sure of themselves, especially in a directorial debut, and are unflinchingly nerve-wracking, like a Hereditary, and something you're like, where did this come from?
That's how I felt about that Eden Lake. I just watched that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
You more than me. I see, that movie does, I think, to its artistic detriment, go a bit over the top.
Nah, man. Over the top's where horror belongs.
But it was very good. I think I gave it 3.
That's better than Henry, your Letterboxd frustrates me. Let's get off the subject.
Yes.
Who's your MVP in España?
That was our coverage of Trip to Spain. Other scenes that are funny are when they get the scallops and they're trying to avoid eating them and are doing Roger Moore and Scaramanga impressions. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Anytime they're refusing to eat something, I am so furious at what rich little entitled pricks they are.
In my country, it's customary to give the guest the first.
Oh yeah, that was very good. That was a great bit, though. You're
We
right.
turn it twice. We turn it around 2 times. Come, Mr. Bond. You love scallops as much as I do.
Rob Brydon loves saying "Come, come, Mr. Bond."
He really
It's
does.
so funny, like when certain impressionists like have a key phrase that they like need to say to get back into an impression, and it's so clear that Rob Brydon's Roger Moore is "Come, come,
Actually,
Mr.
yeah.
Bond."
It's very, very obvious.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I was thinking about what you were talking about last week when we hang out together. But like, the weird thing is when I'm just like sort of solo with a friend, how often do I ever do an impression? It's just you and me.
You do them.
Never.
That's not true. You don't say never.
I think it's a group thing. You and me driving in the car, we're going somewhere. I just break out in impressions.
I think sometimes you'll get on one. You know, like
Yeah.
you'll
Oh,
say
so people
it comes
know.
naturally.
I-
You'll say like one word as a celebrity or something, and then that celebrity will just like, oh, that's gonna be the next 5 minutes.
I realized though that I think the majority of my impressions are people we know.
Yeah, that it was always that way though. Like when I used to like request impressions from you when we worked at Barnes and Noble, it was always like Simpson the security guard. Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
He thought about doing it and thought better of it.
no, I didn't.
No,
I
you
didn't.
didn't.
Do it.
Good. Okay.
I haven't done that in years. I would do it. It's a person. I don't
But
care.
what was your way of getting back into that one? Because you had,
Did I?
yeah, you had like one phrase that you would always go back to with him.
I don't know. I remember Wasserman wrote down a phrase once because he thought my impression was so funny. So he used to want me to do like just say that phrase, and it was something about walking through the hallway and then going down into the elevator leads down it. Nothing made sense. It was like a nonsensical, nonlinear sentence.
Sure.
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, well, he
Complaining.
would latch on to things.
Yeah, I try to aim to please. It's the humorist in me, insecurity. Yeah.
Henry, who's your MVP?
I guess in this one, I wrote this 9 days ago, so I must have had a reason. I guess because of maybe more dialogue given to him, maybe some more soul search. Who the fuck knows? I wrote Rob Brydon.
Oh, I think Cougs for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Brydon had some interesting stuff. They both did. This was a good one. Like, it's definitely diminishing returns. Like, this movie doesn't need to exist or anything.
Not
But
as
like,
good as Italy.
it's not as good as Italy. I agree. But like, really, the only one I like struggled with at all was Grease. Like, this was still, I was having a good time watching it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yours is Cougs. Who's your LVP? I mean, again,
Any of the women, I don't care.
Fine.
You know,
Fine.
this one also had, I think the reason I went with Coogan as the MVP was it also had the thing where he begs Misha to come back to him. Like, we revisit Misha, the ex from the first one.
Yeah.
And
right.
she's now married and pregnant. Like,
Right.
that's another problem with the end of this movie. Like, the last half hour of the movie is just a series of Steve Coogan getting bad news. And I even looked up the the TV show because I wanted to see how they parsed out everything into episodes.
Sure.
And the last 2 episodes, like both of the episode descriptions are just like Steve gets more bad news. And it's like, there's no through line in Spain. Like, it's just like a series of shitty things happening to Steve Coogan until he's being, charged at by jihadists.
Yeah.
And so, I'll go with Coogan as MVP, and LVP is just like any of the women except for Misha, who I found to be valuable in that subplot.
I'll share that LVP with you then again, as we did last week. Although last week we shared specific women, but probably by the third movie, it's
they're so interchangeable. And the craziest thing about it is that it's not like we're getting new female characters. It's the same characters in every movie. And every movie they show up, and I'm like, who are you?
Yeah. Yep. I will say that the one who does have character, personality, and charm, and it does, and regardless of how many lines they give her, is Coogan's agent Emma.
Yeah, I understand that she's the one with more of a character.
Yeah.
But still, like 3/4 into every movie, she pops up on location, and I have to remind myself who this person is.
I know.
All right, let's get into Grease, huh?
Yes. This really reminded me of Us.
The competitive part of it, for sure.
Well, yeah, but also the scene in the car with the fucking... that's wwhere I was Coogan, for sure.
What? What scene?
The Grease, when he's like, starts singing...
Oh.
And it's clear. He knows it's annoying Coogan, and
yeah.
God, that is
I would have done that. I would have done if we ever found ourselves in Greece, I would 100% sing the fucking song from the opening of Greece.
I would be 100% saying, like, I would laugh at first, and then I would go, no, that's great. It's Odysseus, it's fucking Homer. Let's keep talking about fucking Greece. It's great. Yeah.
While I was watching the movie, I was thinking about how great it would be if I made my next pick Greece.
What's interesting is, and I have a yearly watch here. As you can see, the clock on it, it's very big. And
ladies and gentlemen, I am looking at Henry's white ass wrist. He is wearing no such thing, just sunglasses. All right, Grease came out last year, which was kind of a weird thing. I remember that being reflected in a lot of reviews at the time because it came out in the summer of 2020. When we were all fucking quarantined and not allowed to travel.
I didn't watch it. I don't think I even knew it came out because I had seen this is the only one I haven't seen. So, yeah.
You're talking kind of cool right now, Henry, and I think it's because you have the sunglasses on.
What do you mean I'm talking kind of cool?
You have like a sunglasses accent.
What's the
Hey, I didn't even know it was out this past year. I just checked it out,
I'm over here. I didn't even know it was out. I didn't fucking know they do the Grease thing and whatever. It's 2020. It's COVID.
Come, Mr. Bond.
Come, Mr. Bond. What are you doing over here? You like the Grease stuff as much as I do.
All right. I was aware of this movie when it came out. It was like one of the more major releases, I feel like, because nothing came out last year.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So that was discussed in a lot of, there was a lot of envy because even though it was only filmed like 8 months before it came out or whatever, it's still like a product of a world that no longer existed,
Yeah.
Like people just walking around freely without masks on, like eating in restaurants and traveling the globe.
Right.
So the Grease thing is the Observer picks up on him again and wants him to... They're following another like trajectory, right? Like the Odyssey.
Yeah, right.
You ever read the Odyssey, Henry?
Yes.
Have you really?
Of course. I've read the Odyssey, the Iliad, and the Aeneid, which I prefer. The Aeneid's my favorite.
That's bullshit.
Which is not by Homer.
I don't believe that you read the Aeneid.
Oh, I read the Aeneid. See, now I'm getting fired up. Yeah, I actually read the Aeneid in college.
I think you're just saying that because a lot of people have read the Odyssey and the Iliad, but nobody's read the Aeneid. So for you to say it's your favorite, that's like a cool opinion.
No, it's not. You read too much into some things I say. You do that a lot. No, the Odyssey's the most famous one. I don't know. I'd have to reread the Odyssey. It probably is better, but I really liked the Aeneid. I hadn't read it, and I read it in college, and I really liked it. I remember when I read the Iliad.
Marge?
Listen. What?
I said Marge instead of Homer. That's the kind of joke I'm only making because I'm wearing sunglasses.
All right, that's good. I remember, did you have any of this in college, Daniel? We got to translate. My teacher picked a translation of the Iliad that was like for people who are dumb.
No, I watched the Jeffersons in college.
That's true. You didn't really study college. Well, you went to a real college. You didn't have a real subject.
I majored in television. No, look,
Right.
I read the Odyssey when we were in high school. We had a teacher that gave us like a abridged version of the Odyssey. I think
Okay.
it wasn't even called the Odyssey. It was called,
The Journey.
I don't even remember. It was dumbed down in some way.
Well,
I
do you
think
see
I
the
think it might have been called like Ulysses or something. And and so
James Joyce. Thank you for pointing that out to me. That I wouldn't know James Joyce wrote Ulysses.
well, whatever.
No, that's a moment in the movie. You remember that?
Oh yeah, yes, that was very funny. That made me laugh.
I would say that to you too, and you would be like, "Thanks for pointing that out."
All right, so we read it in like English class in like 8th grade, and
That's
and I thought it was the Odyssey.
of course.
Like I thought we were reading the Odyssey because it was an English class, you
Yeah, of
know.
course.
And so
Yeah.
then when I like years later, I was talking to, like, a girlfriend in college, and we were talking about the Odyssey, and I was like, "Yeah, I've read that. We read it in 8th grade." And she was like, "What fucking high school did you go to that
Yeah,
you read
right,
the
right.
Odyssey in 8th grade?"
Yeah.
And she basically showed me the Odyssey and showed me that I did not read it. So
Hey. Ooh.
yeah, so then in college I read it because I felt like an idiot.
Smart. That was smart. Yeah, they gave us the Iliad, and I remember opening the page, whatever, page thrice, and it was like,
Great band.
yeah.
This morning. Okay.
And it was just like, and then Achilles, the writing was like, Achilles was like, "Whoa, guys, wait a second. Hold up. We can't mount that horse like that. We got to kick our heels in and get," and I'm like, and I did raise my, it's college.
Ooh,
so,
he's kicking his heels in. That's foreshadowing because, as we know, that's his weakness.
That's right. I'm smarter than it was a total accident. I said that sentence. I'd love to take I'd love to take credit for that. And I raised my hand. I'm like, "Why are we?" I was a dick. I asked the teacher, who was actually very cool. I was like, why are we reading this translation?" And then the entire class turned into a conversation about the merits of modern translations as opposed to more scholarly ones. So I ruined the
You
class.
hijacked the class. That I always loved that guy. When I was in elementary school, we had
that, but I had to do it.
no,
for art's
I
sake.
loved it because I hated school. I fucking hated everything about school. Never enjoyed being in school a day in my life. And so there in elementary school, we had this kid John Karp, who's great. He's a marine biologist now, and he would do that on purpose. He'd be like, "Check this out," and then he'd raise his hand and ask a question. And he was great because like at 10, he was like this genius kid. He was already smarter than the teachers, and so he would ask a question that would then hijack the class. And like the next, it would be like 45 minutes till recess, and we'd spend
Okay.
like the next 45 minutes on that, and then
We
recess
should try
time.
that. That's an old trick, sure. If you can pull it off, that's good. I mean, this was college, so it's different, but
No recess in college.
no, just going.
Did
to
you
the
have
bar.
a phys ed requirement in college?
Yes.
I know some people that did. Yeah, I never did. What'd you have to do?
Aerobic kickboxing.
What?
Yeah.
Aerobic kickboxing.
One credit.
One
Yeah.
credit.
I waited till my last semester, and then I went. It was on top of a giant hill in Oakland, Pittsburgh, that I had to surmount after another class, and I was sweating profusely. It was in the summer, and it was insane. And
My
I'm
last
surprised I
credit
did it.
was women's studies.
That was my last course too. It was one of my last courses.
I owed 2 credits. It could have been anything. And it was like the winter semester. I just had to take one class. And like the only thing that remotely appealed to me whatsoever was women's studies.
I took a women's literature class. It was great.
Yeah, we watched the vagina monologues.
I read Doris Lessing.
Yeah, well, if she was a man, she would have been Doris Mooring.
That's correct.
That was a
That's
good.
right.
That was a sunglasses joke.
I come from the moors.
come, Mr. Bond. All right, so
All right, Jesus Christ. So the Greece opens with something I've watched on YouTube now at least 7 times. It's 1 minute and 27 seconds. It's Steve Coogan telling Rob Brydon about reading a book under his tree. It's called Fly Story. I lose my shit every time. It's the most Coogan laughs in any of the movies. He loses it.
My favorite moment in that story.
Yeah.
My favorite moment in that story is when Brydon mentions how many acres his property is, and it's like a couple more, and Coogan feels the need to correct him. Yeah.
Look, 36, it's 38, but that's beside the point.
No, it's great. Yeah.
Fly Story.
So that's fun. And it's full steam ahead, bro. They just head over to Greece, Mykonos. They go on a thing, a ferry boat or whatever. So the thing I latched onto, my favorite part of the movie was the competition between them. The fact that that Steve Coogan wants to race him, wants to have a swimming race, because that is an aspect of male friendship that I don't think had really been touched on in the series before now.
Physical endurance.
Physical competition is a weird thing that men want to engage in.
Well, it happens. Who can hit the ball the furthest? Who can throw harder? Who can run faster? Yeah.
Yeah. The Duplass brothers years ago made a film called The Dodeca Pentathlon, which was about 2 male friends putting together. Actually, they might have been brothers or friends. I can't remember. They put together this like series of 25 physical competitions and compete against one another for like the ultimate bro cup or whatever. And my friend Nathaniel watched that movie when it came out and decided that we should do a Dodeca Pentathlon. And so we put one together.
Okay.
And we competed in Baltimore. We didn't make it to 25 competitions. We only did 19, sadly.
Wow.
But we really went for it.
What were some of the competitions?
We played like basketball 1-on-1. We had like a free throw competition. They weren't all basketball based. There was like a foot race, there was
I'm listening.
Some sort of an arcade thing. Like we did like skee ball. There was some like really odd ones.
Because I'm thinking Baltimore, like I'm getting really primal here. I'm thinking purely physical. So I'm like, did it get like any strength competitions?
Yeah, no, definitely. I wish we had like a list at the time. I remember the final one that we came up with. We were going to go, that we never ended up doing because we only did 19 of the 25. We were going to go to a strange city and start at either end of the city and have a race to who could find a landmark the fastest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, ironically, Baltimore is actually a great city for that.
I know, but we both knew it too well, yeah.
I traversed that entire city from north to south in like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's just pretty easy.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't run though. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a thing that we did, and so this movie really brought me back to those ultra competitive feelings. And when Brydon defeats Coogan,
I was so happy.
I was so happy for Brydon, and I was so happy that Coogan was eating shit. But then I sort of did feel for Coogan in that the rest of the movie, he's like trying to get a rematch from Brydon, and Brydon just has no fucking interest. Like, we did it. Like, I won.
You're right. Because that's another aspect too. It's like, well, I lost that time.
Yeah.
But I guarantee if we do it again,
that's gonna eat at you, man. If you're only doing it once.
Correct.
Oh, we played tennis. That was another one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, played a full set.
Do we know did we keep a tally of who came out with the most victories of the
I gotta be honest, I was ahead. But I really feel that the ones that were left over were way more in Nathaniel's wheelhouse, and he probably would have won.
Because no offense to you, but Nathaniel is in much better shape.
Oh, like a million times better physically. And that's why, like, when we did stuff that actually involved endurance, like playing tennis, like, I was winded as shit by the end of that. And then Nathaniel was like, all right, so we do basketball now? And I'm like...
No, that's today, sir. Recovery time, please.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, anyway. What do you got to say about this movie?
Oh, God, it's the worst show we've ever done.
No, it's not.
No, we just don't remember it because, life interfered. I'm trying to think of different things in this that stuck out to me.
See?
This
is the problem.
No. I mean,
it's not also just that we haven't watched it in a week. Like, we watched it a week ago. It's on Hulu. Like, you could have gone and skimmed it.
I could have. Yeah, that's true. That's on me.
I think that this one's a little weak, and other people will argue with me. God, I saw some like professional fucking critics on Letterboxd just giving all these fucking movies 5s. Like, they love them. They ate it up like catnip, baby. But for me, I don't know. The trip to Greece, ultimately, like, they didn't seem that into the food. They weren't that into the location. I didn't see the passion involved in the making of this one, which is why it surprised me that it would be the last one, because I would think they'd want to end a series like this with some sort of an artistic statement, whereas this felt like the most fillery of all the 4. I mean, the emotional arc is about Steve Coogan's dad.
I like that. I saw your review on there that you didn't care about fake Coogan's fake dad.
But we just don't know anything about it. Like, the arcs in these movies have to be about their careers and their personal lives, because that's what we're aware of. We know about their careers from knowing them as actors and seeing these movies. We know about their personal lives because the only characters we ever see other than themselves are their immediate families and their agents. And
right.
So, like, in this movie, I understand that we're dealing with mortality and
abstractness. We're dealing with a lot of abstract stuff. So the abstraction that we don't really know his dad is fine with me. Like, I don't need to know his dad. I don't need to get to know. We met him in the first movie.
We did?
Where they visit Coogan's parents, and Rob Brydon kind of makes an ass of himself in front of them by doing constant impressions and doesn't act
it might have fucking mattered more to me if I'd remembered that.
Yeah, because I even looked to see if it was the same actor, because he like visits him in a dream or whatever, and it's not. But yeah, not that scene was that poignant, because I didn't, I did remember.
It was funny though.
Oh, it was great, but I thought it also just touched on another. Nothing in the movie really touches on. I think we said it in the beginning of the first show. The movies are about male friendship. They're essentially comedies with some melancholia going on. The other things are tertiary. So if his father dies and there's an emotional arc that you don't buy into, I think that's understandable because we don't get to know them very well. But I think we know those two guys.
I don't feel like I know how Coogan
would react.
I don't know anything about his upbringing. I don't know how he would react. I really don't. So to me, it's like Fantasyland ultimately. Like, oddly, for something so grounded, this is the reason why I can't get into fantasy films, because they can make up rules as they go. And so for me, that's sort of what was happening here, was they could just have it be whatever they wanted it to be.
Yeah,
like, if they wanted Coogan to like hate his dad, if they wanted his dad to be abusive, if he wanted to be the best dad in the world, none of it mattered, because like ultimately it's an invention. And I understand that most movie is fiction, but this is a movie about a fake Steve Coogan.
Right.
And so what you're ultimately asking me to do is care about the emotional heavy lifting that a film is doing by killing off the fake dad of a fake version of an actor I just got into 3 weeks ago.
I didn't think that much into it. I just kind of let it happen. I didn't analyze it that much. And I also took it I preferred the what had happened is I looked at it more as the aftermath and reactions of their relationship and friendship. So when he finds out on the beach, he's like on a phone call on the beach, his son tells him. And I like the way it's almost used, and it is used. It's a plot point. It's not, I don't think it's meant to be anything more than that. It's something else to show how they are friends and how Bryden reacts to that news. And it's very specific to their friendship, right? So like Bryden doesn't say anything too much. He doesn't go overboard. He just sort of reacts in an uncomfortable way, but kind of, I love when they're standing on the ship and they're looking out and Coogan says something like, I hope maybe someday I'll be able to come back to this place. And Bryden says, we will. And I like that a lot. I found that very moving, like very poignant. Like Coogan's just saying, this kind of sucks. I have to leave. I wish I could just stay here. And Bryden includes himself saying like, we will return. We will come back, like together as friends. You know, and I found that incredibly moving. I don't know. And then what followed that, you know, with him and his wife swimming, and he's doing Anthony Hopkins again, and he tells his wife that's Anthony Hopkins. She's like, I know. It's like, I love you. Like, I was totally moved. Like,
were you?
What? Yeah, I just found it very moving. I guess it worked for me.
Yeah, I get that. You know, the way you're describing them on the boat, I guess I didn't think of it in those terms, but you're right. That was sort of like the final statement on their friendship, if this is the last one they're making, which apparently it is. So, yeah, that's fair enough. That's it. Henry, you turned me around on that one. I did think the rest of it was fairly superfluous, only because I feel nothing towards Rob Brydon's marriage to his wife at this point. It is so abstract, and I have no idea what it is.
I know. They're narcissistic movies because they're just centered on two people. They're not concerned with the other.
I wish it would just do that then. There's too much shit in these movies inviting us to care about other characters without doing the legwork to get us to. I wish the movies were almost more narcissistic. Like it was just the two of them, only them ever.
Right. Yeah, I know. I guess that the extraneous nature of their other to people in their lives are just thrown in to like probably because they were probably underconfident that they could actually just the two of them carry a 90-minute film, which of course they could.
But you know what? After the first one was an hour and 50 minutes and they realized they were able to carry it, cut out all the other shit, keep them down to 90, losers. I don't know why I called them losers. That was a sunglasses thing. Yeah.
I couldn't see that much anymore, so I had to take mine off for a minute. Yeah.
What? Put them back on.
Okay. I'll do what I'm told.
You look great. All right, H-Dog, what do you give this one? You're going to give it a fucking 4 again, aren't you? Henry? I asked you a question. What are you giving the fucking movie?
A 4.
Oh, okay. He is giving it a 4. All right.
I almost gave it a 5, so you better think.
That's ridiculous. Really?
I loved it.
I'm still giving it a 3. I think the first one's better, and then the other 3 are 3s.
Yeah, you've made your statement. Your letterbox statement. The king of letterbox.
Fuck you.
These movies are okay. So people look to you. So they look to your letterbox reviews. That's what you got to remember. They're going to look at the trip. They're like, should I watch this? And then they're going to see the 3, and they're going to be like, oh, he gave it a 3?
No. You know what they're going to say? You know what they're going to see? They're going to look at it and say, well, I should definitely at least watch the first one. Which is how I feel about the franchise.
I feel about the franchise, you should watch all of them. I don't say that often, ever. I think you should watch all of them. They're all a good time.
I
actually don't
agree.
remember-
I recommend watching all 4 of them as well. But if you don't have that much time on your hands, man, at least make sure you watch that first one.
Okay, agreed. But I think we don't. I don't think either of us actually say this too often with anything we cover. Right? Like watch the whole thing.
No, not since Resident Evil.
I was probably with you on that one even. But like I say, watch them all. They're all a great time. You'll have a wonderful time. MVP Coogan. He made me well up a little bit.
Hey, I wish Coogan's hair in the movies would match his hair on the posters. That's a pet peeve that I have about these movies.
That's true. If he can't decide if he wants it short or shaggy.
Yeah, I don't know. I much prefer him short. I think Coogan looks so much better with short hair.
I kind of like the shaggy thing too, but he's got a nice head of hair.
You've always liked Shaggy, Henry. You were a Mr. Boombastic fan in the 90s. Yeah, Henry used to refer to himself as Mr. Lover Lover when I first met him.
I don't know anything. I don't have no idea what I'm talking about right now. I'm just a God's tree. He knows it.
No, I thought you would. That was a hit. Huge hit, Mr. Boombastic. I mean, Shaggy later became better known for It Wasn't Me, I suppose, but
Mr. Are you talking about the live action Scooby-Doo or something?
No, definitely not. No.
I don't know what you're talking about. Fucking stupid.
Definitely not. All right. So your MVP was Cougs?
Yeah.
That dog?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'll go with I'll go with Bryden on this last one.
Sure.
I'll split it. I gave him the split.
Sure.
The old Shyamalan, baby.
Well, for the Fly story alone, Bryden, I understand. I mean, his reaction to that stupid, dumb story is
so funny.
Steve Coogan, everyone. Steve Coogan.
And who's your LVP?
I mean, I don't... We're just going to do the same thing?
The ladies? I mean, they're all the same.
The waiters.
You know...
Except for the waiters.
Yeah. The waiters are good. You know what was a good scene? Was in the trip to Greece, there's a scene where they both are clearly attracted to a waitress.
Oh, yes.
But neither of them are hitting on her. Exactly. And neither of them are really being pervy with her. No. But they're being like a little weird about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the scene because
when she's there, he's Bryden's doing impressions and Coogan's trying to be charming and stuff, and like you could tell they're into her. And then when she leaves, they make like one comment like, well, she's very charming or something, and then they go back on their own thing. And then when she turns up again, both their personalities change on a dime. And I thought that was a cool thing, because that is another thing dudes will do.
Yeah.
Like, dudes are, like, since, like, the Me Too movement or whatever, like, dudes have been, like, presented in public as being very lascivious in terms of flirting and stuff. But I think more often than not, we're just fucking weird. We don't know how to do it. And we're cowards. Yeah. And so, like, I love to see a scene like this where, like, dudes aren't being normal. Like, they're definitely being weird about it, but without being creeps. Yeah. And I appreciated that. That was like seeing a mirror of myself on screen a bit.
Yeah, I like that too. That was good. Yeah.
All right, so there you go. So I'm not going with the waiters. I'll just go with the women again, but not that waitress, because I enjoyed that scene. And she was charming. I probably would have hit on her too.
Sure, obviously. Yeah, I'm not going to say the next thing. It's okay.
Henry, did you ever... Did I ever tell you the story about the time I thought a waitress was in love with me?
I want to hear it.
Okay, so this one time I was in love.
I've had those moments. I've had those moments in restaurants.
It wasn't a moment, Henry.
Uh-oh. All right.
I used to go every Sunday to this place, Lily's, near Barnes and Noble.
Oh yeah, I went there a million times too.
Yeah, for brunch, and there was this waitress that wrote a little message to me on my check. All right, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's into me," and I was definitely into her.
I know this story.
Yeah,
I haven't heard this in fucking 10 years or more.
And so I kept going every Saturday. I'd get the same. She would make a point to be at my table.
What was the message again? Sorry?
I don't remember, but I kept that receipt in my wallet for years.
Yeah, sure. I understand.
All right. And then she would continuously write little messages. She started remembering my name. And I was like, oh my God, she's into me. All right.
What are you doing?
All right. Then she invites me to a play that she's acting in. All right.
boy.
It is an outdoor musical production of The War of the Worlds in the Bronx.
You went.
And I went.
Of course you went.
Okay. And it rained. And
A musical production of War of the Worlds?
yes.
Fucking Americans is so stupid. Oh my God. All right, go ahead.
And Americans are so stupid. Like the number one idiots who make musicals aren't Andrew Lloyd Webber and Stephen Sondheim.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Sondheim is American, genius.
He is? I always assumed he was British. You met that dude?
Yeah, he also was very unkind.
Yeah, I'm sure. That doesn't surprise me.
Quite all right. His music sucks. I didn't care. Go ahead.
It's better than Weber. But anyway, fucking, where was I? Oh, so I went to go see the War of the Worlds.
It rained.
Yeah. And then, like, she invited me, like, the cast party. All right? But I wasn't able to go for some reason. All right? I should have. But then, a couple days later, I'm at Barnes & Noble, and I'm, like, bragging about this to whoever will listen. You know, I'm like, I think this waitress at Lily's wants to get up on this piece. And
maybe me. I don't even know.
Might have been. And then there's this girl cashier, and she goes, I know that girl. And she showed me the girl's Facebook page, and she was fully gay and in a relationship with a woman.
She just needed people to come to her show.
Yeah, she needed people. She had bodies in that audience.
Needed a little PR.
And I'm a fucking sucker, bro.
Wow, that is fucking great.
Holy
I don't remember
shit.
that.
It is like one step down from like thinking the stripper is into you, honestly. Yeah.
But
awful.
In all fairness, I mean, how were you? That's not. I mean, you wouldn't know that. She must have. I mean, that's.
No,
you
she was
know.
totally in. When I thought about it, like when I took a step back, every time she was fully being friendly with me, and I was a coward, you know. Like I definitely flirted with her, but I don't think I ever said anything to imply like I would like very much to make out with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. That's fucking great. I don't know if I did ever hear that story. I certainly didn't hear the denouement.
There you go. Well, I might have been embarrassed at the time. Didn't fucking tell anybody about it. But now, who cares? I'm an open book.
Yeah, great.
All right, H-Dog. What a fun trip this was to the movies with you.
It was.
That was a good line, right?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Thanks.
Yeah. Take a little trip. Take a little trip with us.
What was that a reference to? Wait, hang on. Don't say. Oh, it was Fire by... What? Take a little trip with me. It's Lowrider. I'm sorry. Okay. I only have Fire on the brain because I just watched that Woodstock 99 doc.
Oh, I bet that you were in heaven on that one.
Henry, please watch it.
Why the fuck would I? Actually, there's probably some.
It's the best movie of the year.
Green Day's in there, right?
No, that's 94, bitch.
Oh, forget it. 99, I'm out. I got nothing to latch on to.
No, I'm telling you, this is the defining film of my generation.
I read your review.
But I'm standing by it days later. That was not in the heat of the moment.
I know, I believe you.
Heat of the Moment. It's another great song. All right.
Yes, it is.
By Asia. All right. Henry, where are we headed? Oh, rank them. Give me your final ranking. I'm sticking with it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I understand those rankings. I actually am going to go 1, 2, 4, 3.
1, 2, 4, 3. I buy it. All right. We buy each other's rankings. Now we can move on.